if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person.
Very fine people on both sides. You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by go. You know the thing.
It's a lie on a news network, and it's a lie that's a lie that they're conscious of.
Welcome to another episode of the Grumpy Old Men. It's great to have you joining us. We've got some amazing news this week because in Australia, particularly in Victoria, they have released the state budget, and boy, it's got some good news in there and a lot of bad news in there for us. So sadly, it's not going to be the best, but hey, we'll get through it. I'm Grumpy, and in the other seat, we've got the amazing Pinky, who's joining us.
Hello.
G'day.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
State budget. Oh,
Yeah.
my God. Where do we go with this? How do we start?
Well, yeah. I'm sure a lot of people have already had a quick look, but we want to summarise a few points
Yeah.
and just give our perspective on the good and the bad. And I don't think we're necessarily aligned on everything, on what's good and bad. But
no, because we come from different perspectives.
Yeah.
You got a family of 200 people, and you know.
small village to feed.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So So some of the things that have happened recently is just the debt that Victoria's accrued. Who cares? We owe a lot of money. That's the problem. Yeah. In 2019, 5 years ago, and that was halfway through the Labor's term, because they've been in power now 10 years. And this is Jacinta's, what's her name? Jacinta Allen's her first budget, because we finally got rid of Dan Andrews. He quit, which thank God for that. He put us in a truckload of debt. Now, in 2019, we had a debt of $25 billion.
Yeah.
Right, $25 billion.
Yeah.
5 years later, we have a debt of $126 billion.
Yeah. Thanks,
126.
Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere you go, we've got roadworks and the Forever Tunnel, and of course the issues with the airport rail as well, which is in the budget again, and that's not even good news. Let me just quickly go some figures with you. Now, the global rating agency called S&P warns us that if we don't change our ways, can't speak tonight, by 2027, we're going to have a deficit of $187 billion. That is one hell of a debt. You know, what's that? 4 years, and they're saying another, what's that? $60 billion.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just
Yeah. So we think inflation is bad at the few percent that it is. That's nothing compared to our budget. Our budget is just absolutely out of control. And this is, look, a lot of this is Dan Andrews.
Yeah,
and
correct. Yes,
there's no two ways about it.
There's a whole bunch of things that he put into play a couple of years ago. They're now being put back, so they're not even going to be completed anymore.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, I just want to drop onto X here. Tom Elliott, who's a commentator on radio station 3AW, and he just did some numbers of our debt here in Victoria, and basically he said it on his show, and it's only a minute and a half, and he explains to us how serious this is for a state with, 6.9 million people, and how much our debt's been blown out. So let's play that.
Good morning. Well, to be honest, I don't think it's such a great morning. Today is State Budget Day. We'll find out early this afternoon what the state government has in store for us over the next few years. I don't know all the detail, but I can guarantee this, it is going to be a horror show. So what I've done, I've taken the projection in state government debt over the next 3 years. I've taken the federal government's debt as well, which is actually predicted to stay fairly stable. I've divided it by Victoria's population, so each one of us per head, and here's what the magic numbers are. Now, make sure you're sitting down as I say this. If the people that own our debt came knocking on each and every one of our doors and said, I'm sorry, your government's bankrupt, you have to pay for it. For each of us in Victoria, and we've got a population of 6.9 million people, it is $36,000 a head just for the state government's debt. $36,000 a head. Federal government debt, just under $34,000 a head. So again, if we had to repay all of our state and federal government debt, and each and every one of us had to make a contribution to knock it over, it would be just on $70,000 for each and every Victorian. I'm talking men, women and children. So if you have a family of 5, that's 350 grand to repay our state and federal government debt. And when you think about it, that is a lot of money.
That is. And that also includes those of you who don't identify as a man or a woman. You're included in this as well.
Don't get out of it that easy.
You're stuck with that debt as well. So
and all those people, the straw men that are writing their names in capital letters, applies to you too. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Start running because you are going to be paying for all this.
Yeah. Might as well hand over the keys to the house now.
Yeah. Fire away, Pinky. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, that's part of the plan, isn't it? When they get to a couple of $100,000 per person, they'll just take the keys to your house.
Yeah.
Hand it over to BlackRock, get a massive payout, resets the government.
Correct.
We own nothing. And they'll be happy.
Oh, exactly. We won't be happy.
Yeah.
Well, some people will because some people love living off welfare because they don't have to work.
I guess,
but the majority of us...
majority of us won't be happy with that.
Exactly, because we want our freedom. Yeah,
totally.
Exactly.
But that's going down the whole conspiracy path.
Yeah.
That's another story.
Let's get back to reality of our budget.
Yep.
Okay, fire away.
Oh, well, look, there's a couple of wins there, for families. It's supposed to be the family budget. Yeah. That's what they're calling this. So it was a family-friendly budget.
Oh, just CETA's been pushing that left, right, and centre last couple of days.
But when you balance it out, it's not really family-friendly. There's a couple of things there, like the $400. There's a $400 a year rebate or payment to families for each of their school kids that are in school, as long as they're in state school. That doesn't apply to private schools and Catholic schools and things like that. So that helps. But in reality, $400, she was on, I saw her on, was it Channel 9 or something maybe today being interviewed, and she was saying, it'll help towards school books and school uniforms and school camp and school this and school that. Yeah, maybe
iPads, notebooks and that type of thing.
Maybe if you shave $10 off towards an iPad and $10 off towards uniforms and $10 off towards something else. She makes it sound like $400 a year covers all those things. What a load of rubbish. It doesn't even come close. As a person with an entire tribe of children, I can tell you it doesn't even touch the surface, Yeah. We should be grateful for small mercies, but that's exactly what it is. It's a very, very small mercy when you compare it to the other levies.
That $400, because they're sending it to you on such a personal level, it's kind of, okay, the budget isn't as bad as you may think it is because we're going to give you $400.
Yeah, it's a gloss over.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a gloss over. They did this years ago. Remember they were trying to boost the economy by giving everybody money, and everyone just went out and bought a TV.
Yeah, that's right. Inflation went through the roof.
Now they have 3 TVs in the house instead of 2 and higher inflation.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. It really doesn't work like that. You need to cut these problems at the core. And look, to play devil's advocate, Jacinta Allen, it's her first budget, right? And she has slashed a lot of things. And yes, they may give us some other problems down the track, but in reality, look at the dumpster fire that Dan Andrews left behind.
Yeah, correct.
And so she's got to try and recover from that. So it's easy to point the finger and say she should have done better, but in reality, look at what she was left with. And she's got to try and figure her way through that mess without throwing her own party on the bus. She can't stand there and go, Dan Andrews was a dickhead and look at what he did. It's her party.
But she's basically reallocating a lot of the funds. She's stopping a lot of projects. Like I mentioned, the airport rail. They're talking about another 4 years now because they can't decide it'll be above ground or below ground. So they're fighting over that one.
It's not about deciding. So what's happened is the government are happy to be above ground and just push on through and off we go. You've got the airport who are paying nothing. They're making no contribution to this whatsoever. They're the only real benefactors, right? Is the airport and people obviously travelling, but they're the benefactors to this, and they're the ones who are saying they want part of it to be underground. They want these other stipulations. The changes that they want to make is blowing the budget right out, blowing the time right out, and the government is saying, well, hang on a minute. We need to discuss this further and really work out a plan here of who's paying what, who's picking up the tab on all these extra bits and pieces, and they're refusing. They're saying, no, we're not paying for anything.
Yeah.
So they're in a bit of a Mexican standoff. So, it's easy to say, well, that's great. Another bloody 4 years we've got to wait. But in reality, the government's trying to do the right thing here and get a contribution from the airport.
Yeah, but they've already started building a lot of the areas like signages. Some platforms are being built.
Oh, yeah.
They've spent, I think, $500 million already.
Yeah, it would be more than that, I think. Yeah.
So we don't have confirmation. Can we actually build it? But they've already spent the money.
Well, they've started the process because the process that they've started sticks to the original plan, but it's the airport that want to make changes. So that's so in a way, you can't really blame them for trying to put this on hold for a minute till they resolve who's picking up the tab. Because if the government just says yes to whatever the airport wants and goes ahead, that's going to affect us as well. Yeah. So we are saying, oh, that's another bloody thing on hold, but at the same time, we're the ones who are going to foot the bill if they just say yes to the demands of the airport. So,
but every year they put it off, the costs just keep on going up.
Oh, of course it does, because that's inflation and whatever.
Correct. It needs to be sorted. I don't know how they're going to negotiate. Just get it done.
Well, that's the thing.
Either do it or don't do it.
They're at a point now where they have to negotiate something. Yeah. But the issue is that the airport are bringing nothing to the table. Then it's not like the airport is saying, well, how about we pick up this bit? They're not saying anything. They're saying, no, we're not doing a thing. So where's the negotiation from their side?
Are they waiting on federal money as well?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I know that's the biggest...
I think they're waiting on federal money contribution somewhere.
But I know that's the biggest stalemate at the moment with that scenario. So, it is a pretty serious situation, but because they've already started. If they hadn't started, it wouldn't be a big deal. Because look at what happened previously with another big project from Dan Andrews where they got cancelled and, we had already spent a stupid amount of money.
Wasn't it the freeway?
Oh, the one of the links. Yeah. So, because that was all Belt and Road initiative related and what have you. It was just a dumpster fire. The guy's just done nothing but cause the biggest dumpster fire we've had in Victoria. So,
hence our debt,
absolutely.
Over $100 million in 5 years. Yeah,
absolutely. And I can't believe people out there singing their praises. If you're watching this and you're saying Dan Andrews' praises, wake up to yourself. Now look where we are.
Exactly. It's not a bad thing because there's a lot of families that are struggling. That $400 is going to come in handy for them.
Yeah, but that's like you're shooting him in half with a machine gun and giving him a Band-Aid.
There's still not enough. There's still... I mean, a lot of the other educational areas, like, was it the kinder program, is being pushed back to, was it 2036
or
something?
Like that. Yeah, free kinder.
Because they don't have enough staffing.
Well, I think that it's slightly deeper than that. You're right. It's the staffing issue, but it's because they are looking for low-paid staff. So it's a budget issue.
Yeah.
So they're looking for staff that are new into the industry and what have you. So to have or new businesses that are happy to work at low costs and low expenses, and that's part of the problem. They're not willing to put up enough money to fund this properly, so they're just going to keep pushing it back.
And they are cutting left, right, and centre in there as well. So many areas.
Oh, look at mental health. Like all the new mental health establishments that were supposed
wellness
to be...
as well.
They're all been put on hold or canned. There's a lot there that's going on,
Yeah, 5 years ago the money was obviously allocated in the wrong areas.
Yeah.
Blew our budget, and here we are.
Yeah.
We're trying, like you said, we're trying to patch things now.
Yeah.
And do you think they're actually going to survive this? Do you think people are going to go, oh, okay, this is a bit of a mess?
What choice do we have?
Because during the pandemic, everyone thought, oh, yeah, surely, the way Dan Andrews handled everything, they won't vote him in, and they did. They put him back in again. I was stumped when that happened. I was thinking, what are you doing?
The thing is, Liberals not really putting up much of a solution.
No, they're shit. No, I totally
That's
agree.
the problem.
Yeah.
It plays into a bit of the old better the devil you know, and that's I think it's how it was with Dan Andrews as well. It was better the devil you know, because I guess I'm trying to think of some good policies that Liberal are trying to bring to the table to get them over the line, but there's nothing that really stands out. Again, it's weak leadership.
There was that station that they were building, North Melbourne. Was it Arden? Arden, yeah.
Yeah, with the hospital.
They were going to have the hospital there.
That's canned.
Yeah, exactly, because no one talked about, the magnetic field, electromagnetic field that was going to cause.
I've got a feeling they did, but I've got a feeling the government was going to push through. I think what happened was they talked about pushing through with this anyway, and then when they realised how much it was going to cost to counter these magnetic fields, which is going to run into hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars on top of the budget.
Yep.
And that's when they said, no, well, hang on, we've got to be realistic. It's if it's going to cost that sort of figure, because they did know about it. It's not a surprise. So if the media are using this as a, or the media that favour Labor are using this to say, oh, it was a surprise. It wasn't a surprise. They knew. And this is the thing. It's another one of those things with Dan Andrews, like, he has that Oprah mentality. A hospital for you and a hospital for you. It's like, we'll spend some money over there. Yeah, if you look under the chair, there's a new house. It's like, it's just, that's how Dan Andrews was. And that's why a lot of these projects never come to fruition, because they weren't set up properly in the first place. And that's the problem with that hospital. They did know. They're saying that it was a surprise. How can that be a surprise? In 2024, we don't have experts that know that that's an electromagnetic field.
But they're not actually canning it.
No, they're not canning it. They're going to move it to
area.
another location.
Yeah,
but in
correct.
the meantime, they're going to spend, give a lot of money to.
Yeah, they're actually
hospitals.
setting it. To what is it, the Royal Women's and the Royal Hospital.
Royal Melbourne
so,
Hospital. Yeah,
they get a bit of a refurbish,
which is a good
update.
thing.
Yeah,
that's
correct.
a good thing, because those hospitals we need, and they're going to stay, and they're important hospitals. So I don't know. It's just.
So effectively, we lost one project, and because of that, the money was redirected
It'll get
back into the system
some
again.
of it, and then hopefully they'll look at the project again at a later date when they find a suitable location. Because it's quite a big. It's actually a precinct. It's quite big. So
I'm surprised they had it in North Melbourne, actually, because that's a pretty congested area.
It's also a pretty rough area.
Yeah.
I can imagine their emergency ward.
That's why they need it.
Yeah, that's like the Bronx. You guys are in another country. That's like the Bronx of Melbourne.
I can't
Sorry to you
believe
guys living there, but it's true.
Yeah, we have those ones as well. Yeah, lots of them. So a few of the families are going to suffer a bit more, because the waste disposal levy is going up as well.
Tip. Yep.
Yeah, that's going up by $150 a
something
ton
like
or
that.
something.
Yeah,
that's a big
$170
jump.
a ton.
$170 a ton.
Yeah,
that's a huge jump.
It is a huge jump. Yeah, it is a huge jump, because that's when you're. I don't know what a cubic meter. Most of the chips here work by the cubic meter rather than the weight. But if you think of what a cubic meter probably weighs for most waste, that's probably about half of that. It's probably half a ton. So you're talking, what's that? $80 something, $85 increase when you go to the tip. That's pretty much double. That's astronomical.
How many times do you go to the tip?
Enough to use up all my free vouchers. I get but then I also have. Well, I don't really use work stuff there. My work stuff, I've got a big bin at the factory for that. But I reckon probably 3 times a year.
Yeah. Well, I've got a dumpster as well as part of my business, so I use that. I can't remember the last time I went to the tip. Actually, I do. I went to the tip and I had a trailer, and I had these cardboard covers on there, and they blew off and hit another car. And I obviously stopped to pick up the cardboard, and the woman in the car goes, "Oh, you're a shit driver." I said, "I'm not. I'm a good driver. I'm just a shit tyre upper." But that's going to make a knock on. And then you've got the fire levy. Yeah, that's right.
It's another $35.
Was it fire and safety or something?
Yeah, it's fire levy. So if there's it basically pays for the fire brigade.
Yeah.
So that's another $35 a year, which it's not a massive knock. But then,
you're
giving the thing is you're giving with one hand $400, and you're taking with the other with all these other fees. So,
correct.
But then you've also got there are some benefits coming if you're into the environment and what have you. So. One of the things that they're doing is an interest-free loan for batteries for your solar.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And then some sort of subsidy for more efficient hot water services. So there's a few wins there if you own your house and you want to upgrade a few things. If you're renting, well, sorry, it's not going to help you much there. But but then there are other reliefs for people that are maybe buying into the market for the first time.
Yeah.
They're going to rejig the whole first home buyers thing with the shared deposit thing. So there's still a couple of wins.
But they're talking about shared ownership as well. What they call equity, shared equity.
Yeah, shared equity, but you pay it out.
Yeah.
You pay it out. I believe, I don't know, there's been a few different...
Will you pay it out?
Well, I think you would. I mean, there's a few different interpretations of it, so I don't think they've really settled on a final plan, but there's rumours of potentially basically sharing the deposit with you. So you front half the deposit, because most people are starting to realise now that the cost of rent now is not that different to a mortgage. So you may be better off just being in your own house, right? In fact, in some cases, it can actually be cheaper. You often hear people saying, "Oh, my mortgage is $500 a week. Why are you paying $600 in rent?" So depending on where you are, and they're not proper comparables either, you know. So, but it may be worth you buying your own home. The biggest obstacle is a deposit, because you're talking at least 10%. Then you've also got stamp duty, which it isn't typically part of the loan unless you've got some sort of equity that the bank likes. So if you've already got a property and you want to buy an investment property and you want to borrow money for stamp duty, you can borrow against your original investment. But if you're starting out fresh, you need to have the stamp duty in your pocket and a deposit. So the government are trying to help with that, and I believe that you will then be paying that amount back to the government interest-free over the period of the loan. So there will be shared equity and joint ownership, but you pay that off. It's not a permanent thing. Yeah. It's not like the government will always own a quarter of your house.
Those of you who don't know what stamp duty is, if you're watching from overseas or just don't know, do you want to quickly explain it?
Basically it's a government tax that's imposed on the purchase of the land, not the house.
Oh, it's not just land; it's also in cars and a whole bunch. It's basically basically the paperwork. Now, I'll give you a quick example. If you buy a house, an average house for about $650,000, your stamp duty is $34,070.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is, and with concession, it's $11,000. I just looked it up earlier. It said $34,000.
That can't be right.
On a 650?
Well, the last one I bought that was $500. My stamp duty was $45.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because these are the figures I checked today. Oh, we shall double check that one.
We'll look into that
now. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to say, well, that's basically what it is. It's a fee. It's a levy, basically. Yeah. But it's applied. Well, see, it's applied against the land.
Yep.
Not the house. So
right.
You pay stamp duty on the land, and if you build a house, then it's a cheaper way to do it.
Yeah.
So it's very convoluted here in Australia. It's very, very confusing.
Yeah.
So until you actually got it all laid out in front of you. But yeah, because we have things like negative gearing and all that sort of stuff, which most countries have never even heard of. But yeah, there's lots of different.
Which is really a good idea.
It is a great idea. Yeah. So you've got this is the pros and cons, I guess. I mean, we pay stamp duty. A lot of countries don't pay stamp duty, but then we also have negative gearing, and a lot of countries don't have negative gearing. So what we lose with one, it swings and roundabouts. What we lose with one, we gain with the other. So that's if you're investing. If it's your first property, that's different. There's no negative gearing on your first property because it's your primary residence. So you just pay your mortgage every month like anybody else. So yeah, so that in a way it benefits investors to have negative gearing, but the average person, no. So you're paying your first mortgage on your first home. You just pay the full amount.
Correct.
That's how it is. So that's why interest rates really knock you about as well for the younger crowd, because quite often the bank will say, oh well, you know, we've done the homework and you're good for X, and you borrow that money, and then the interest rates shift, and then you find that you're struggling. Now, there was a lot of issues in the past where banks are, you know, sort of fudged figures to allow people to borrow more money. So people were really maxed out, then all of a sudden they couldn't make their payments. And the banks here were investigated on all of this a few years ago. I think it was about 5 years ago, somewhere around there. Someone could correct me if they like. And a lot of that sort of changed. The banks got a bit scared. They pulled their head in. They stopped, you know, fudging numbers and, you know, expanding on different things to offer more money. And then they made the figures that they lend you more realistic. Which is good, which is why some people now, it's disappointing on the day, like you want to borrow $800,000 to buy a house and the bank says, well, no, you can only borrow $650 based on these figures, and you're like, but I reckon I could pay for an $800,000 loan. Yeah, you could, but what if interest rates shift?
Yeah,
or
correct.
what if your partner loses her job? Or what if some other expense? What happens if you're paying everything every week, and then all of a sudden your hot water service blows? Now, as a landlord, that's your responsibility, but when it's your own home, that's on you.
I remember during the 80s, I had a whole bunch of friends back in my DJ days, and they had houses. And at that stage, I think interest rates were about 3%, 4%. And then when we went into recession, they ballooned to about 18%.
Yeah.
And my friends were losing their houses left, right, and centre because they couldn't pay for them. And then I had a few of them that changed their banks and put a locked-in interest rate, but then they dropped and they were locked into this interest rate, and they were still being screwed up the butt. You know.
Yeah. Interest. We've had interest rates here as high as 24%.
Yeah.
So in the past, so it's just one of those things. But statistically, this is another tangent. So we should pull this. We'll rein this back in a second. But statistically, property in Melbourne or across Australia generally, but the major cities, has doubled every 10 years for nearly 200 years.
Oh, geez, really?
So through all the ups and downs and highs and lows that we've had over the last 200 years, property has doubled every 10 years. So if you can ride the storm, you will, in the end, make money from property. That's still one of the best portfolios you can own as a property portfolio.
Yeah,
you can struggle through.
I agree, but the problem, a lot of them tend to invest and it's really tight for them.
Oh, that's what I mean. Wrong. If you can struggle
through,
because it can be a real struggle, especially at the moment. This is why we're hitting. I feel like we're hitting a watershed moment where people are just. The market's going to be flooded soon. Yeah, it's inevitable the way things are going. But anyway, we digress.
Just on to the stamp duty for a sec. We're kind of half right, both of us. Now, went to the Combank, which is Commonwealth Bank of Australia. If you take out a $650,000 loan and you put $15,000 deposit of your savings in there, your cost will be $38,255. That's your stamp duty. So slightly above what I said and a little bit below what. And I think...
Maybe we got shafted.
Let me actually see if we increase the... 1, 2, 3. Oh, even if you paid $25,000, it's still $38,000.
Well, the stamp duty is a stamp duty; it's irrelevant. Yeah, it doesn't affect the bank.
Don't know why they're adding the.
Well, they're probably adding it into the loan, which you really shouldn't do.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
you really shouldn't do. And in fact, a lot of the time, the bank won't even let you do that. So that's just they're just figures. If you actually went to the bank with those figures and said, I don't have the money for the stamp duty, there's a good chance they'll say no.
So effectively, it's $38,000 for paperwork.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they want their blood. If you fall over tomorrow and you need to sell your house, they're going to sell it out from under you, and they need to make at least their money back. Yeah. So if you have the value of the house plus an additional $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, whatever in stamp duty, they're already running at a loss. And that money's already gone to the government, so the bank will take a hit. So they quite often won't let you borrow for the stamp duty unless you have some other sort of equity that could reimburse that if anything turns sideways. But anyway, we could do a whole episode on finance, and we are not financial experts, so please
that's definitely for sure.
Ignore the last 6 minutes or so, and if any of that doesn't make sense, don't bother leaving a comment because we don't know what we're talking about. Go and speak to a financial expert. All right, back to the budget.
Okay, another loser was the sick pay guarantee for casual workers that Dan Andrews tried to put through. Didn't get any support, so that was scrapped.
I'm sure in my day you didn't get sick pay as a casual anyway.
I've never known of it.
I've never known of it.
So,
which I can understand the benefit of it, but at the same time, casual people they get paid more usually. I think it's sometimes up to double what a full-timer gets paid.
Yeah, they definitely get a higher rate, but also... It's not consistent, is it? It's like a standby hours. What is it? Permanent part-time they call it now?
Part-time's different again. So full-time, part-time and casual. They're three completely different scenarios in three completely different rates and, very different.
Yeah. I'm self-employed, so I've just always paid myself.
Yeah, I've been for a long time, but I still remember that those basically three very different scenarios. So but
I don't think I've ever had a part-time job. It was always full-time or self-employed.
Well,
majority of it's been
full-time is a 40-hour week. Yeah. Part-time is anything less than that, but regular. And then
isn't it a maximum of like 35 hours part-time?
I'm not sure what the maximum is, but it's it's anyway.
Anyway, we digress again.
Yep.
One of the things we were talking about the hospitals before. One of the things in the budget, they've allocated $8.8 billion towards hospitals as well.
To upgrade, upgrade 4 of them or something, isn't it? Or build 4 of them.
Didn't they promise 10 of them and upgrades to 10 of them and only 7 actually got
something
upgrades?
Like that. Yeah. I didn't look into that one that deeply, to be
honest.
Well,
this $8.8 billion is allocated for the next 5 years and that's guaranteed.
Yep.
So it's not like they're going to change it next year, which is good. That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yep. Could always do more with the hospitals for sure.
Oh, sorry. I've got notes here for the 700 million into first home buyers scheme, which is that shared equity.
Yeah.
So 700 million. That's probably not that much when you think about it.
No, not really.
Yeah.
I think
Would that
I
be
had
going
some
to-
other notes on
Yeah.
that, but anyway, that's
There was a lot we had to.
There's a lot of stuff that could still be fine-tuned for information, but we're just trying to get the bulk of it out to you, because I'm sure I had some notes here on... Oh, no, I've got the same thing, 700 million. Yeah. That's all right. It is what it is. But every bit helps if you're out there trying to buy a home. At the end of the day, a lot of people already have a home, or a lot of people have no plan to buy one.
But I think that 700 million is towards first home buyers.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
It is only for the whole
Yeah.
thing is only for first home
Yeah.
buyers. And again, I think it was like a shared deposit, so it's not like they're paying for half the house. It's
Yeah.
I think it's half the deposit or something.
But that equity one always worries me when they talk about equity, shared equity.
Yeah, but you've got to think.
After getting involved with BlackRock and knowing what they do.
Yeah, I agree. But then you're sharing equity in part of a deposit. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm sure the percentage of the house is small. And what choice do you have if you really want to buy a house at the moment? I mean, I know it's wrong, and I know that we've had this conversation before where the current generation are looking back to boomers and going, "Oh, you screwed it all up for us." Well, they didn't. They took advantage of the opportunities that were in front of them. It wasn't their fault that those opportunities were there. They didn't rip anybody off. They didn't say, "Well, I'm going to buy 2 investment properties so my grandkids get nothing." That was never the plan. The people, Gen Xers and boomers that have more than one property, it's for their kids. They're thinking of the kids' future. So they're not there to rip anybody off. It was just the circumstance at the time. But the circumstances have changed. The government's made it harder. The goalposts have shifted. Money's tighter. Interest rates are higher. Everything's just... Look at what's happening with the actual numbers of the budget. The whole thing is cooked, right? If there's anything at all that can help them, then we should be trying to do that. And I think that, we can bag them for not doing more. Absolutely, we always can. But I think that $700 million is going to help a lot of people.
Well, look, I agree. I mean, it's not chicken feet, is it?
No.
But I don't think it's enough, and I still think they're allocating money in a lot of the wrong areas.
Oh, totally. That's always been the case, though.
That big that tunnel that they're doing underneath the city, Melbourne City, that's just been going along. It's been so delayed so many times. The budget's blown.
It's getting close to the end, though. But yeah, the budget's
It is,
blown.
yeah. But
it's cooked.
what was it? I think they're still 2 years away from completing it because they have to run through a whole bunch of tests now.
Yeah.
And they do that for quite a while before they actually open up to the public. But that's part of our, $127 billion debt.
Yeah, well, if they don't do the test, they might need that $8.8 million for the hospitals.
That's right. Negative Nancy, thank you.
Well, devil's advocate, that's what I'm here for.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
But I feel bad for the people in the mental health sector and the wellbeing sector because it's going to knock them about a bit because a lot of things that were supposed to happen aren't going to happen now.
Especially with the stress of this budget now as well.
Yeah.
We need it.
Yeah, well, you need it even more so. Yeah.
But, Victoria's got the worst debt in the country and also the worst credit score now. We've been marked down from AAA to AA. So that happened 5 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
So we get a bigger battery.
AA batteries, that's right. Well, the credit score is just, that's just shocking as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting bitten left, right and centre.
Yeah.
Little bites at you, those little fish that bite at your feet when you're in the river.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing.
No, but I believe you. So, look, that's what I was saying at the start. I mean, a lot of these things that are being pushed back and delayed and cancelled and what have you, at the end of the day, there are people who are going to jump up and down and say they need to go ahead.
Yeah.
But there's also people who are sighing a sigh of relief right now because, it would be more money spent in areas that it might not necessarily be spent. I mean, some of these things people didn't even want. Who asked for a tunnel to the airport?
Well, that's the thing.
You know what I mean?
But having said that, we're the only state that doesn't actually have a railway going to...
yeah, I get that. But then we're talking, what was it? How many billions of dollars was that? It was tens of billions of dollars, wasn't it?
They should have built it a long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Sydney. It's a beautiful city. I'll give that to them. But one of the things I do love is you land there on a plane, you walk down the corridor, down the stairs, jump on a train, and you're in the heart of Sydney through their tunnel system.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I don't think it's that bad here. I don't think it's terrible here.
Oh, I prefer to be on a train, nice comfortable train, than buses and cars and.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, you're right there at the freeway, though.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
Because there are a couple of buses in the suburbs here that go through a few of the suburbs, then go to the airport.
Yeah, there are shuttle buses and stuff.
Correct,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I would rather a train. Just me. I like my comfort.
I'd rather keep the money in
Well,
the budget.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather keep the money in the budget.
Yeah, I know what you're
know.
saying. I still think the whole thing's blown out now.
Yeah.
It's way beyond I don't know. Is it repairable now? It's just.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The problem with budgets is inflation has to catch up with them,
Yeah,
and then
correct.
that just screws everybody
Well,
along the way.
we're now another 4 years behind.
Yeah.
Last year they were saying 2 years. A year later it's 4 years.
Because how do you recover from that? Like, you just have no spending for 20 years and pay it all off and level off the.
It'll be one
budget.
thing if they were doing all this negotiation before they started, and got to sort it out where they didn't spend any money, or they would have to spend, a few $1,000s in negotiating, whatever. Let's say $5 million they spend, getting it all sorted out. But now we're, from the numbers I read, it was $500 million. You've heard more than that. $500 million. That's a lot of money out the door. That money could have gone to our health system, our well-being
there's
system.
been a lot of bad mistakes and dumb choices.
Instead, it's gone to an infrastructure of a thing that doesn't even exist yet.
Yeah.
And,
And may never.
may never, exactly. This could go on forever. They'll be forever negotiating.
It's just lining fat cats' pockets somewhere. That's the problem.
Yeah. Oh, a few contractors are going, bring it on, negotiate as long as you want, because they've got their contracts, and they'll just keep on doing their signages and, their benches, make their benches or whatever, for something that's not even going ahead, or not for another 4 years at the moment. Yeah. All right, let's get back into it. Now, as we're talking about the projects, quite a few that they announced that were supposed to be finished in the next 1 to 2 years have now been pushed back to 3 and 4 years, like the railway we just mentioned, and the hospitals. So that's just money being wasted.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it wasted, or is it just because if
it's not being built, it's.
Well, if it's cancelled, it's wasted. If they get part way into a project and cancel, but putting it off might not. Well, obviously costs go up, so when they revisit it in a couple of years, it's going to cost more.
Correct.
But there might be other priorities where that money needs to be right now. Shelve a project to cover something else. When you look at the things that we're missing out on, like the repairs to our roads and all those sorts of things that, how many times have you hear people complaining about potholes and things? And that sound trivial when it's one pothole, but it's right across the country.
Yeah.
It's all we ever hear.
Have you seen that meme about the Roman roads? Where they've got a picture of the Roman roads. How they've got the cobblestones?
Yeah.
And they've lasted for thousands and thousands of 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And the meme goes something along the lines as these were built by workers, untrained workers, and now we have engineers who've got potholes everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Yeah.
But there was other areas that got hit as well. The tourism section, a lot of the events, $285 million taken out of that budget as well. So what are we going to lose? I hope we don't lose the tennis or the Formula One, because that brings in a lot of money.
They're cutting money on all that sort of stuff as well. So,
because that brings up. This is one of the things that I get annoyed by when they cancel movement and all that, because that brings a lot of revenue into the city for that one day.
Yeah.
There's millions of dollars, but then they cancel it and people go, okay, what do I want to go to the city? And all of a sudden, that revenue's gone. Why was the last one cancelled? Because it was going to be 34 degrees.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Come on, this is Australia.
Yeah, I know. It's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what's happened with that?
It's a walk in the park weather.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived in Perth. We would get heat waves of a week of 42 degrees every day, And you kind of go, oh, geez, there's no relief. At least in Melbourne, and, the old saying they say 4 seasons in one day?
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
Because when you've had 1 week, 2 weeks of 42 degree days every day, it's a relief when it rains.
Yeah, the next week it's 17 degrees.
Yeah, that's right. I'm all for that. I'm happy with that.
Yeah,
I don't mind the 1 or 2 days of heat, and then it cools down. That's great. I'm happy for it.
Yeah.
But just doing a week of 42s, man. Anyway, we digress again. So, any more wins you reckon we had?
Oh, any more wins? Oh, I don't know. What have I
Let's
got?
try and keep
What
this
have I got for pluses?
sort of,
Not
yeah.
a lot, really. There's been no big impact on small business, so that's not a bad thing, I guess. It's allowing small businesses to get back on their feet. No real benefits to small business in the budget, but no more hits.
Yeah.
So that's that can help a little bit. I have a small business. You have a small business. And those, knowing that we're not going to get knocked about a bit more does give us a little bit of relief, even if it's just psychological. A few things I did notice though, they didn't touch any more on the SEC. There was some issues with that. There's the Airbnb levy that they talked about. Nothing really came up about that. But most importantly, one of the things I noticed that they didn't talk about was the new O computer system. So they're supposed to be looking at a new upgrade and updating of the system for the O emergency number system.
Yeah. The emergency
I think
services.
they're even talking about incorporating AI into components of it.
Oh, jeez.
No, just the simple stuff that's really, not like O is an emergency number, but there are some things that can then be handed over to AI in some way. But I don't know exactly how they intend to incorporate it. But there's talk of incorporating AI into that as well. But yeah, there's been no mention of that, so I guess that's not going to happen this time round. So they'll be a bit disappointed. TAFE's missed out again.
Correct. Yeah,
which is really disappointing. I mean, I was disappointed when the TAFEs just started to drop off. I mean, not everybody wants to be a doctor and a lawyer and an IT guy. Some people are good with their
But
hands.
they've become the big money makers.
TAFEs.
Remember, late 90s, it was all...
TAFEs or trades?
Yes, I know.
No, I'm asking you. Are you saying TAFEs have become the big money makers or trades?
Oh, as in the trades, trades. Thanks for clarifying that. Because I remember, the late 90s, early 2000s, IT was the thing. Everybody was getting
Absolutely,
IT.
yeah.
$60, $70 an hour, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And now, engineers, these IT engineers are everywhere.
Yeah.
That area of vocation has dropped, and they've realised, oh shit, I need my toilet, unplugged. And
and I don't know how.
Exactly.
I don't know how to clean my gutters and
now,
change a light globe.
I've got a problem I'm having right now, this present minute.
Yeah.
This very second, my fridge, my defrost fridge is frosting up because the door's actually dropped, so it's sucking in air and it's frosting up. Now I tried to fix it and couldn't work it out. And do you know how many people I've rung so far for them to come out and try and adjust that door? I'm happy to pay their call-out fee of a couple $100 and, whatever they charge me. But I've got people saying, okay, we'll come out tomorrow afternoon, and I don't get a call back.
Yeah, because they're so busy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they don't want your pissy little job. They're too busy.
Yeah, exactly.
But we've had this conversation. So I've got a rental property, and the tenant there, lovely guy, and he's only just moved in, and he's a smart guy, but he didn't want to run the risk of doing any harm to the property. So we had an issue with the kitchen sink. This is only a couple of weeks ago, and it's brilliant. This is an issue with the kitchen sink. He's told the real estate agent, and they've passed that on. They've got Chinese whispers. By the time the story got to me, the sink in the kitchen is completely blocked up. So I'm like, oh no, well, that's a problem. I don't want to overflow and damage the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. While I'm out there, could I also have a look at one of the light fittings in the hallway that's come loose?
Yeah.
He's gone to change the light globe and the fitting's loose, about to fall out of the ceiling. So I'm like, oh no. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll go have a look first, because the call-out fee for a plumber here, I called 2 plumbers. Now, they might not all be this expensive. Maybe it was bad luck. But both of them were $350 each for a call-out fee.
Jeez.
And I'm not talking 2 a.m. I was just regular hours. And this is insane. And then I rang in a couple of electricians. I had a mate that said he was way too busy to even help me. He's an electrician. So I rang 2 other electricians that he put me onto, and they were like $260 each or something for a call-out fee. And I'm like, this is insane. That's $600 between the 2 of them before anything even gets touched, right? So I thought, I'll go and have a look first. I'll rock up, and a little plastic piece, those plugs that you push down. It's got a pin in the centre of the sink, and you push it down, and it has a seal.
Yeah.
So a little plastic toy piece had fallen into where the pin goes, so he couldn't get the plug in, and he didn't want to try and pull it out because he didn't know what it was. That's all it was. And I went and got my pointy nose pliers, and I went thing, and I put it in the bin.
Oh, you just saved $300.
Right, and then I went to the hallway where the light was, and I thought, oh, okay, and I grabbed the light globe, and sure enough, it was really loose, and I couldn't see because obviously there was no light right there. It was in the evening. So I went and bought a brand new light fitting and all that stuff, which was like, I don't know, $50. And I turned up and go, okay, well, I probably shouldn't tackle this myself because I'm not an electrician, but let's see how far I get before it becomes an issue. And I grabbed the light globe, and the glass came away from the bucket of the metal bucket of the globe. And I'm like, you've got to be shitting me. Is that all it is? So I turned the power off, grabbed a pair of pliers, pulled that out, and there was nothing wrong with it. Put a new globe in and went home. That would have been $600. Right? And the irony is that I've got mates that are in IT, and they're having to sell their one-bedroom flat because they're not making any money.
Yeah, correct.
And I'm like, and then there's a guy on a couple of brothers on Facebook. I think they're called the Reese brothers, maybe. And they do little comedy sketches. Very, very funny guys. And there's one of them where something happens and they go, we're going to have to call the electrician. And then the whole building site's like, oh no, we're going to have to call the electrician. Oh, all right. They call the electrician. And this Lambo pulls up in the driveway and the guy gets out, and he's just raining money. He's going, goes in, walks over, plugs the electric power board back in, and goes, all right, and walks away, and they hand him this big wad of cash. And as he's walking away, he goes, and the rest, and he turns around and they hand him another big wad of cash, and he gets to the Ferrari and drives away. I'm like, that's how it is these days.
Sadly, that's actually true.
I know. I'm like, this is crazy. I bought some bits and pieces off an electrician, and I had to go to his house to pick it up, and he had a Lambo. And I'm like, you're kidding me? On a 4-poster hoist in his shed. And he would have been in his 20s.
Yeah.
And he said, and he knocked out the wall on the side of his garage so you could see in there from the hallway of his house. Big glass window so you could see his Lambo. And he was like 26 or something.
Yeah, the money's definitely in the trades now, that's for sure. Yeah, because there's not enough people. Yeah,
for sure. And look, AI is not going to change that, I don't believe.
How are you going to change it?
All this stuff about robots and AI is going to change. It's going to change some jobs, absolutely. I know. I feel bad for those people, but hands-on physical trades, nah, that's not going to get affected at all.
I'm lucky. I'm pretty handy. I can fix most things. Not fridge doors, apparently. Everything else, I'm pretty good at. I can fix it. I can even sew. How's that? I don't even know how to sew. Oh my God, there goes my manliness.
That's okay. I know how to knit. I know how to knit. So there you go. You're more manly than me.
Not that we're saying it's, males can't do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love a good knitting session with my friends and my name.
Anyway, so that's pretty much the budget wrapped up. Now next week is
Okay.
Oh, did you have some,
we were talking about knitting then straight away. That's the budget sewed up, like the knitting had anything to do with it. But anyway,
I thought it was a segue.
But no, that's you're right. I think we've touched on most of the topics around the budget.
The major ones, yeah.
Look, there's bound to be other things that are going to, become clearer in the next day or two. I think, as more people are reading through the budget and comparing notes like we've been doing.
It was 3 books, wasn't it, or something?
It was quite a big one, yeah. But like I said, I'm not a big fan of Jacinta Allen's. Could take her or leave her. But in reality, she's been handed the biggest turd to try and fix.
Try and polish.
So try to, if you can, try to spot the positives in any of the things that are happening, I guess. That's all you can really do. Try and stay positive. It's not the end of the world. You can see it from here, but it's not the end. So,
All right, so let's just have a bit of fun right now.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to head over to the US of A because the governor of New York, if I remember rightly, Kathy Hochul.
Oh, yeah.
Hochul, isn't it? Hochul, yeah. Hochul. Now, this thing, it absolutely baffles me. The black community tends to vote Democrat all the time. Yes, the Democrats just, some of the shit they say is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And remember when Biden was in his basement, he goes, if you're not black...
if you don't vote for me, you're not
black. Yeah. Which is basically saying, hey, we know you vote for us, so it's crazy. Anyway, this is what Kathy had to say just recently. It's mind-boggling. I'll let you decide. Have a listen to this. On X,
young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because when you have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges. Young black...
These are the same people that said that blacks don't know how to go to the car registration place. What do they call it in the US again?
DMV or something?
Yeah, something like the DMV.
Yeah, Department of Motor Vehicles.
Yeah,
DMV,
something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about, it says that the bigotry of low expectations.
Oh, man, this is the bigotry of privilege.
Yeah.
This is the thing. People like you and I, and plenty of other people like us, don't have white privilege. We're just people like anybody else. Idiots like her have white privilege, and they make us look like dickheads. And we don't, for 1 second, I can't understand a woman like that would think that way. And I'm not just saying it about race, it's about anything. How could you think that anybody doesn't know what a computer is in 2024?
Correct, they're on their iPads already, iPhones as well. Yeah, maybe they don't use computers because they spend all their time on their phones,
Yeah,
but that's just
like most kids.
Yeah, that is such racism.
But that's not race. That's not about race. That's about your environment. If you're either playing a lot of games or not playing a lot of games, your parents tell you off, they don't tell you off, all that sort of stuff. That's a whole nother tangent. But to say that black kids don't know what a computer is, I mean, this is, what it reminds me of? I'm trying to remember the exact wording from a few years ago with Joe Biden, when he was saying that black kids are just as smart as white. No, what was it? What did he say?
Wasn't he talking about because he said something similar to about Obama?
No, it was about kids. It was something about black kids are just as intelligent as rich kids, or something like that. He compared race to privilege instead of race to race, and it was wrong in the first place. I'm just trying to remember what it was he said, but it was another scenario like that where he just made a comment about the black community with
says that all the time.
idea, And
here we go. Biden said, "We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids."
That's what it was.
He paused and then added, "Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it. But think how we think about it."
Yeah. So poor kids are just as intelligent as
white
kids. So in other words, black kids are poor
Yeah,
and white
exactly.
kids are rich.
If he said poor and rich, that's very different.
That's what I mean. So he's comparing race to demographic as a demographic.
The fact that he said poor, then said white.
Yeah. Two completely different. Yeah. Anyway, he got slaughtered for that. So, and people forget though.
They always do these type of things, and the media just won't cover it.
No, that's right.
Yeah. And just like at the moment, there are so many crimes that I see on my X feed that have been done by blacks. Like there's this woman standing in the middle of the street, and a black guy walks up and just punches her out and keeps on going. No one reported on that. I never saw it anywhere else other than on my X feed.
Was that in New York?
Yes.
Because it's become a fad.
Yeah, exactly.
A fad at the moment to go and punch people in the face in New York. I don't know what the hell.
I've even seen one where they push a woman down the stairs of the underground system there in New York.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
But it's not part of the narrative.
No,
so, yeah.
Of course not. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to my favourite buddy here.
Oh, can I just touch one more thing on that?
Fire away.
With Joe Biden.
Yeah.
When you look at his history, like we often talk about Joe Biden versus Trump, but someone put a little video together recently. I should have let you know about it so we could show it. But it was talking about Donald Trump's views from the 80s, and it was on Oprah Winfrey's show, and his views of international trade and all that sort of stuff, and how it's almost verbatim for what he says now. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
He still what he says now is still what he believes and what he said back then. And then yet it followed up with Joe Biden, and he was talking about the black community, and he was talking about gay marriage, and he was saying that as far as he's concerned and President Obama are concerned, a marriage is between a man and a woman. you know,
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
this sort of stuff.
I know what
So
you're talking about.
all those things that we push away, or the young kids have never heard. You know, kids in their 20s who, oh, Joe Biden's amazing. Do you know what he said about you? Because that's your demographic, you know.
Well,
whether you're trans,
yeah.
gay, black, Hispanic, at some stage, Joe Biden has had something horrible to say about all of you.
He was behind the 1994 crime bill. I think it was 94. That put away a majority of the black population.
Yeah, then we say, oh, black families have no fathers. It's because Joe Biden locked them all up.
Yeah, exactly.
Pay attention.
Exactly. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, I forgot. I got sidetracked.
Sorry.
That's
Anyway.
all right. Oh, actually, I was going to talk about Trump. The latest news. We may cover it in a coming episode, maybe next week, with the document trials. Remember how he was charged because he had the documents from the White House?
Yeah.
Turns out DOJ actually had a pallet load of them, then shipped them to Mar-a-Lago, then raided him.
Yeah.
Not long after they shipped all these documents, and that just came out because those the affidavits or documents, whatever they were sealed, and Judge Cannon actually unsealed them. That's how we found out that documents were being.
They also staged the photos. There were photos of the
Exactly,
documents laid on the floor that were
correct.
admitted into evidence, and they were staged.
And they used a top secret. Was it the binder that
I
you're
think it
talking
might
about?
have been, yeah.
And they used that as a generic prop in a few of these boxes.
Yeah, to make it look like the documents were
exactly.
top secret.
Even though the documents weren't.
Were
yeah,
not.
Exactly.
Correct. Yeah, it was all
that's
staged. That's
information.
it wasn't photoshopped. It was positioned and
Correct,
staged
yeah,
before the photo.
correct. And all that was under sealed documents.
Yeah, and
that's
it's there in black
Jack
and
Smith,
white that
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
happened.
Jack-
This isn't hearsay.
Yeah,
this is
Jack
the real
Smith
deal.
is the dude that. Yeah, that case is falling apart left, right,
Oh,
and centre. Yeah.
mate, yeah, absolutely.
And it's Stormy Daniels there. We might get into a next episode.
Yeah, in fact, to be honest, I've paid very much no attention to the Stormy Daniels case at the moment. So it'd be interesting to see where it's at because
that's had some really interesting developments as well. Stormy Daniels actually last couple of days went to court and testified, and she got really graphic about being spanked by newspapers and things.
by Trump.
Yeah, and the court almost who was it? The defence actually tried to call for mistrial because of what she was saying.
This was too graphic.
Yeah, that's right. And they've found more letters of her saying that she wasn't paid hush money and all sorts of things. So that's blowing up as well.
Yeah,
but
we should do a summary at some stage.
Here's the problem. It's in New York, and Dershowitz, who's a very prominent legal scholar in the US, has said Trump got a really bad pick of the jury. So even though there may be no evidence or whatever, it's in New York, and we know what happened with the property one. The tax, it wasn't tax, it was the valuations of his property.
Oh, yeah.
He lost in that even though there were no victims. So,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Anyway, I just mentioned Robert De Niro, my buddy, because he's another nutcase with Trump derangement syndrome. And he goes on this almost minute. Well, the interview was about, I think, 10 minutes or something. And there was this one particular section that he actually compared Trump to Hitler. And we get that all the time, but I'll let you watch the video because I think that's the best presentation on X. So here we go.
But the point is not, and for the country, no. And I think other people are going to have to stand up and just, because it's either that or you're going to find yourself in a situation that's so terrifying. We always hear about people from Eastern Europe, the Jews from other parts of Eastern Europe, from Western Europe, coming over. Look what happened in France with the Nazis and so on. And they come over, and you hear these, and when I was a kid, they'd say, "You don't really appreciate this country. You don't really appreciate what we know from experience." Imagine what those people went through. I'm just starting to see it. As a kid, I said, Hitler, it's a nightmare that never would happen. But now I see that it's possible. And what those people, and sometimes I run into some people who are close to my age who are from Eastern Europe, European countries, or even Nazi Germany, and you understand it. But
so
So he's basically saying Trump's the next Hitler.
Exactly.
You know,
He's
and he can
saying
see it coming.
because he lived through the last 4 years. He can see how it's moving towards what happened in Germany, Nazi Germany.
I don't think there's anybody alive that lived through Nazi Germany, is there? There wouldn't be. Or they'd be pretty...
Very old
but
now.
not his age.
Yeah. No, he would have been born...
Because how old's Robert De Niro? When was he born?
He's in his 80s. So, what's that? So, he would have been born roughly around...
It was nearly 80 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. He would have been...
So he would have been born.
No, he would have missed it because he was a really young child.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I don't think there'd be too many people around that were like...
lived as adults.
Yeah, so, I should clarify.
Yeah.
So in their 20s or 30s that might have lived through Nazi Germany.
And understood what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So most people now that were around then would have been in an era after Nazi Germany when they were liberated.
But he's saying because he's lived with 4 years under Trump, he can associate what was happening there. Tell me what part of that 4 years would give you the impression that it was Nazi Germany. You know, I don't get it.
No,
because
that's just him. That's who he is.
They're using the same fear tactics that they did in 2015.
Yeah.
The same narrative because their policies are rubbish.
Yeah, but it's not working because the youth are moving towards Trump.
Exactly.
Statistics are showing that the youth have woken up.
Yeah, there's been like almost a 30% swing from Biden, and now Trump is up 5%. With that demographic, 30s and unders.
So the Trump derangement syndrome that was there in the youth is disappearing. You know, I think people are so much more aware of politics now than they were 5 years ago. We're starting to see that all around the world. And I think that back then it was, you know, a bunch of kids that knew nothing about politics who were just seeing this guy and going, nah, don't like him, and then they jumped on the bandwagon. And you know, we've spoken countless times about echo chambers and, you know, the biases that we create by associating with people who have a similar view. So, you know, when you're amongst your peers and you don't know anything and your peers are all saying this is the correct thing, it's really easy to just go, oh, fair enough. I like you guys. We align our views with most things, so you're probably right. Yeah. And so you end up with an echo chamber, and I think that's what happened to the youth a few years ago when you know. Yeah, especially because they were going through the universities. Yeah, because we're not just talking 4 years ago; we're talking 8 years ago. Where 7, if you want to be technical.
For me, I think it all started about 2014. But politically correctness
I'm just thinking about
was earlier.
when Trump started to run.
Yeah, 2015.
Yeah. So, but when he actually got in, you remember that. You know, people were having a meltdown over this stuff. You know, all the young kids were having a meltdown over Trump getting in, and they didn't even know who he was. Yeah, they just Orange Man bad. That's that's all they really knew. Yeah, but a lot of the 20-year-olds now, or even 18-year-olds voting age. Today, it's 18 in the US. 18s. You know, you're going back 8 years. They were 10. Yeah, that's right. They had no idea. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So there's a new generation of youngsters coming up, and even the ones that were around at the time who didn't understand what was going on. They didn't really know who Trump was. They didn't really know who Joe Biden was. They really didn't know who Hillary Clinton was. They didn't really know who anybody was. They just, jumping on the bandwagon with their mates and forming an opinion. Yeah. And those people are now at an age where they've just lived through 7 years of politics. Since Trump first got in, and are now going, well, actually, you know what, things were a bit better under Trump. Oh, that's the big promo they're using now, the Republicans, that, just remember what it was like under Trump. Yeah. And it's true, and that's the great thing about him running again, is because he actually has a history. And so does Biden. They both have histories. Yeah. You just look at the histories now. Just have a good look and go, okay, which one was better? Yeah, you just there's no argument there at all. Yeah, that's right. And yet they still, the diehards, Rob Ryan and all those people that I've mentioned before, they will never sway because it's all about tribalism. Yeah, totally. All right, but we'll get into a bit more next few episodes because, like we said, a bit it's developed. Now, I've got one more video to play off X before we get into a movie that I've never heard of that you brought up. There you go. You're very good at finding these obsolete movies. Yeah, they're usually rubbish. But anyway, that's how we find out if they're rubbish. Just because we digress, we'll talk about Fall Guy. And we both loved the trailer for it. Yeah. It opened up over the weekend. It's taken in $64 million worldwide on a budget of, I think it was about $170 million. Okay. So it's getting there. It's not too bad, but problem is I don't think it'll make its money back because, no, it was $150 million, budget.
because basically the way it works, because of advertising and all that, they have to make double what the budget is to making. So they basically need to make 300 million before they make a profit.
Because they spend approximately the same on marketing as they do on the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've also got the fees to the cinemas on top of that as well, because they have to take their share of the takings.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to get near that 300 million. We'll see what the second week is like.
Yeah.
But one thing I found out as well is it was made in Australia.
Oh,
it was made in Sydney.
I didn't know that.
No, I didn't either until I saw some of the behind the scenes, and they were talking about. I think the first giveaway was they were talking about a bloopers. That's right. And there's a scene where they go across Sydney Harbour, I think it is, and they end up in a certain area which actually in real life has no access from Sydney Harbour. Yeah. So and I thought Sydney Harbour. What are they talking about?
Yeah.
Then I looked into it. Yeah, it was right here in Australia.
Yeah, well, there you go, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how much toll taxes they
I
have
wonder
to
how many
pay.
people. I wonder how many people of our generation went to see it just because we knew the series with Lee Majors.
That was a late 70s series?
Yeah, it's an old series, but it was a fun series.
Yeah.
It was another one of those like Dukes of Hazzard and Chips and that
Didn't-
whole era.
Didn't he make it straight after $6 Million Man, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. $6
I
million
remember it.
man, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
$6 million wouldn't get you an eye. Now.
Oh,
But he
these
got an
days.
eye and a leg and an arm.
There was talk of remaking this series at one stage
Yeah,
as
right.
well.
Probably $6 billion
Yeah,
man
exactly.
now.
That's what they were going to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we digress again,
Yeah.
as we always do. Let's check out this little video. The Asians love their prank videos. So I thought this was fun. We won't play it all because you get the idea after the first half, 30 seconds, whatever. But yeah, have a look. This is fun. Check out this next guy coming up. Look at him in the middle. Yeah, I'll check out this.
Face. Oh, poor girl.
But she didn't run off or anything. She kind of... Oh, this guy's in the wrong place.
これ僕ら何を見せられてるんですかねこれは。考えてくださってますちゃんと。
とその時。
Look how calm she was. And she was so calm sitting there going, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah, funny.
It was a Tuesday for
so
her.
many good prank videos. Yeah, could spend hours watching prank videos.
All right, the final bit here. This is a movie called Darkness of Man. Oh, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Oh, okay. Just read that for the first time. So we're going to head over to
I like
YouTube.
to find obscure stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely obscure. When's it due out, do you know?
No.
We'll probably see at the end of it. So let's have a quick look at this. What is it? Rated R too, so it's very violent. Move your kids.
It's after 8.
You want another?
Yeah, just leave the bottle, please.
Rough night tonight.
Ooh, the crunch.
Jaden, do you know where you would be if I wasn't here to protect you? You would be dead like your mother. Your extended family business, it's complicated. We are close. Need to start paying.
Back out, old man. I said back the...
You are a dead man. The Russians. They took Jaden.
Why would they take Jaden?
It was a setup. I'm coming to save you.
Vigilante.
You made it personal. What you saw today was just a taste. Where's the kid?
Who are you? What the
Remember now? I made a promise to your mother to protect you for the rest of my life.
Watch out!
There you go. So
Yeah,
if you're a fan of the classic Jean-Claude Van Damme films, but with a slightly darker edge, I think that's right up your alley. So
I was a big fan of him. I thought
certainly
he was good.
was.
Looks
Yeah,
like he's still got it.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder how much of it will be stuntmen and how much of it will be him.
Yeah, it is what it is. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's a bit of fun, you know.
Oh, let's switch that on.
You know, I don't try to find the blockbusters like you. I try to find those little ones that you might miss that are just a bit of fun. You know, a bit of fun. I think that's a great one.
Yeah. Some fun fact here. The movie Predator, you know, with Arnie Schwarzenegger, he played the Predator.
I have heard that,
yes. At the start, but then they swapped him over for this other dude.
Somebody younger.
Yeah, because originally he was like insect-like.
Yeah.
And it was, and Jean-Claude hated it and said, "I'm out," and he was gone. So they
replaced him. Yeah.
and ended up with a really iconic creature. Now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's it.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
another
our show.
episode here
Yeah.
at Grumpy Old Men. We're back again for our next episode coming up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share the video. It's always appreciated.
And don't forget to leave a few comments below on what you think of the budget.
Yeah, exactly. We'd
How
love to know.
How you think it affects the average person. Yeah.
We'd love to know how it would affect you, actually.
Absolutely.
As well.
Well, you are the average person with a bit of luck. So.
Correct. So, anyway, thank you very much again, and it's good night from me.
And good night from him.
Spots.